Hey everybody, this is Wolf Hoffmann from Accept on Metal Wani and Metalholic. See you soon.
The man, the myth, the legend. Thank you very much for taking some time to do this interview.
No problem at all. I'm not a legend.
You are. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Where are you?
I am from India.
My gosh, my first ever interview into India.
Absolutely, sir. It's an honor to have you because we've been waiting for Accept to come to India. Probably we may have to wait for a little more time, but I think it's going to be awesome.
Tell me about India. What's the metal scene like there? I'd love to come.
The metal scene is chaotic here. It's
really?
Chaotic. It's growing. Probably if you're not aware, most of the bands have already come here. So
yeah, I know some bands. Like, tell me some examples of
for
bands.
example, we have Metallica has come here, Megadeth has come here 3 times, Machine Head, Lamb of God, Opeth. I mean, I lost the count. I mean, Mastodon.
And where do they play? How many shows do they do?
A few of them have done. They played at 3 different places. Basically, in India, Bangalore is the metal capital, is what we call. So most of the bands come over here, and if they're doing a multi-city tour, then they go and play a show in Delhi, in Mumbai. So these 3 cities are majorly involved when it comes to heavy metal.
And what kind of venues would
venues? Like open air, sir. Open airs. Crowd of 8,000, 10,000, 20,000.
Even for like Machine Head?
Machine Head, Megadeth had close to 9,500. Iron Maiden had 40,000.
Yeah, of course, Iron Maiden's huge. And Metallica probably also,
Metallica
right?
Close to 15,000. So it just keeps growing and growing, and it's just an open platform for us now to see, legends come over here and play for us.
Well, it's time for Accept to come over then, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a chat with Mark, I think 3 months ago, and I just can't wait for you guys to come. It's probably right time and the right opportunity, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so easy because it has to sort of be en route to somewhere else or something. I mean, we can't just meet and do like one show only. We have to be on tour and go from.
And now with Blind Rage, you're going to be on tour for next 1 or 2 years now.
Yes, sir. We're just getting ready to, do the first few shows here in the U.S. and then it's off to Europe and Japan, South Australia, you name it.
Wow, that's awesome. No, about the album, I have no words. It's just yet another notch in your bullet belts, pulverizing to dust any doubts that you guys have grown old, and you definitely haven't. So I have to congratulate you for releasing a masterpiece.
Thank you very much. I like the phrases you're using with the bullet in the belt and the pulverizing. That sounds very metal.
Absolutely. Now, I have to tell you something because I have been listening to this album from past few weeks, and luckily you guys even posted on your website. So I was really happy that it got the appreciation. So while listening to the album, I felt it is as good as heavy metal gets in my eyes.
Really? Wow. Thank you, sir.
Anthemic, chaotic, heavy, and original. And not many metal bands can do that. So kudos.
Thank you very, very, very much. Yeah, I mean, we wanted to write an album that sort of is typical Accept and typically on the money, like as far as the style.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's why we're totally consistent, I think, stylistically. We just wanted to have the best possible songs. We didn't really want to change anything. Stylistically, we didn't want to change the producer or the singer or any of that stuff. We're happy with what we have. We just wanted to make the best use of it and get the best possible result, and that's what we did, I think.
Awesome. And with Mike on vocals again, it's like, it sounds as if someone has drank a cup of acid. Everything just sounds so great.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark is a great singer. I think he's been, what fascinated us about him is the fact that he can do, when we found him a few years ago, is that he can do that old material, with his eyes closed, and he can nail those high notes and the screams and the stuff that we need. But at the same time, he can also do much more melodic stuff, and he almost he's got almost a totally different voice for that.
Right.
Songs like Fall of the Empire or The Curse. Not everybody can do that, and he's really like a two-personality kind of singer.
Absolutely. And the album is released last week, and you also played Stampede live few times. So how has been the response so far from the fans?
Fantastic. It's a great opening track, and we'll probably keep using it for these upcoming shows. It seems like the perfect opener.
Absolutely. And what about the album? It's out. I mean, probably in another few days, the sales are going to be out for a week. So how has been the response from fans?
Fantastic. I mean, I've done probably, I don't know, 50 or 100 interviews with the press already, and everybody says the same thing. It's quite phenomenal, the response so far. And actually, the album was released last week on Friday in Germany, and I think today is the day. Is it today? 18th? Yeah, it should be out. Yeah, in the US today. So,
absolutely.
Ta-da!
There we go. Now, album has a particular way. I mean, you guys always start and end with a patented accept riff. Like we say, no filler, only killer, isn't it?
Riffs are our specialty. That's what we do. We've been doing riffs 30 years, and
that's true. And one can really feel that you guys have actually taken care of every little detail on this album. So, how was the writing process this time?
The writing process, I mean, was basically the same that has always been ever since the 80s. That as Peter and myself, we get together early on and sit down, exchange riffs, play each other what we have collected so far, and then start tossing ideas around together, and we start building the songs and making stuff up on the spot when we sit together. We've known each other for so long that it's really an uncomplicated and fun process for us, because we're like brothers. We think alike in that way. And Peter is a great demo vocalist. I mean, he's a great vocalist, period, but he's really good at making stuff up on the spot without thinking about lyrics at all. So he can just, you can play him anything and he'll start singing, and I can guide him, and I can tell him, try this, try that, without lyrics ever being an issue. Because he has the ability to sing this quasi mumbo jumbo English sounding stuff that's just like an instrument, Turns into a song with like a lyric idea, and the song is pretty much like that. We are happy with it, then we give that to Mark, and then he's doing the final lyrics.
Right.
And we had about 8 months time this time, which was great, because it really enabled us to go over the songs many times, and most songs went through up to 8 or 10 revisions until we were happy. And then I think the result is going to be better and more rounded, and as if you just have to do it once or twice, you know what I mean?
No, that's awesome. Now, what about you? I mean, you have continued the trend of long solos on most of the tracks. I mean, I found this approach very interesting on Blood of the Nations, and it's really cool to see how things like these take the songwriting to just another level.
Right. Yeah, and I like to do that. I mean, I love playing around and seeing what else I can do with the song once you come to the second chorus. The easy way out is always to just sort of use an existing song part and play over it, maybe a quick little lead on the chorus riff, and then chorus and out and over. But to me it's more fun to see what else you could do with a song. So I'd like to take my time and really work a song and see what else I can come up with.
Right. That's cool. And what about Mark on this album? I mean, he utilized his rough, distinctly, usual aggression, as well as more toned down version to go well with the album's feel. So was it more like an intentional, or was it natural?
No, I mean, things usually sort of develop along the way, and we're not always conscious of what direction we're trying to go to or whatever. We just knew that we wanted to hear a little more of Mark's sort of lower register voice, because we really like it so much, that we thought, a song like The Curse or The Empire can really showcase, the other Mark.
Right.
And so we knew we liked that, but other than that, we just sort of follow the flow and see where the songs take us. Whatever a song needs is usually what we try to give. If it's, I think the sort of most of the time the song speaks to you, tells you what it wants,
Right.
and you just have to follow it.
Absolutely. Now, if we take one Accept song, so in terms of music, lyrics, concept, etc., and how they are created, what is the creative process behind, an Accept song for you?
The creative process usually starts with Peter and myself, exchanging riffs and musical ideas, and sometimes it's based on a concept or a hook line or a lyric idea, but most of the time it's really all the music comes first, and then we draw a lyrical. But very soon after that, we have to start thinking about, okay, we've got this nice riff here, but what do we sing about? What's the story we're telling here? And then we have a book, if you want, full of ideas where we just jot down stuff. And actually, Gabby, the songwriter from, she wrote the lyrics in the past. She has got a bag full of ideas sometimes, and then we just draw from that and see what works, what could work with that song that we have.
Right. That's cool. Now, I have to ask you this question. I mean, you've delivered so many albums from last 3 decades. Do you still feel that, Accept is yet to deliver the best album of your journey?
Of course. I think the best is yet to come. I think we're just on our way up. And I believe, to me, it almost feels like this is a new start. It doesn't feel like album number 14 to me. This feels like album number 3.
Wow.
Quite honestly, because there was such a long break in between, and I don't know, it feels like this whole thing is a new chapter in our lives and in Accept's history that I believe, the sky is the limit. We can go much further, and we haven't even played the best show yet, and we haven't even written the best song yet.
Whoa, that's very tough to digest looking at the material on Blind Rage.
Yeah, well, you always have to challenge yourself and think you can do better. That's half the fun,
Absolutely.
And I'm never one that is really happy to let good be good enough. And I always think you have to challenge yourself. People always ask me whether I didn't have pressure, trying to top the last album, blah, blah, blah. But I think if there's any pressure, it comes from ourselves and from myself. I'm relentless that way, but that I think as an artist, you have the obligation to try to better yourself. And you're supposed to get better with this. I don't think it has to be the norm that, a lot of times people say you peak in your 20s, creatively and whatnot, but I don't think that's actually has to be the case. I think you're supposed to get, especially in music, it's not a sport where you're trying to be the fastest or whatever. You're just trying to get better at what you're doing, and I think that's possible.
Ageless is what we can say, isn't it?
Ageless, exactly.
Bingo. Now, when you look back at the reunion which happened in 2008, I'm sure nobody had any idea if this would go anywhere. I mean, if it would die tomorrow or it would just reach another level. So when you just look back at it now, how does it feel, that you guys have proven everybody wrong, that Accept is here and is still kicking ass?
Right. Well, that is, of course, gratifying beyond belief. I mean, it's just one of those amazing stories where sometimes you just got to make a stand and go against whatever everybody else says. And we certainly did that. We knew in our gut feeling that this would work, and we gave it all we've got, and then it's very gratifying to see how everybody's opinion changed once the album was delivered and once they saw Accept play live. That was an amazing turnaround in everybody's opinion. Initially, everybody said, well, it's never going to work, and
it just proved wrong, isn't it?
We totally proved them wrong.
Absolutely. Now, after releasing an album, you surely come across various situations where people express their opinion on the album. Now, do you really care about what others think about your music? I mean, do you even change or think of changing something because someone outside the band told you to do so?
Good question. I've never really been asked that question, but of course it influences you. I mean, if sometimes it's just one guy saying something that makes you think, It totally does. You know, you have to be careful, of course, to especially nowadays. I tell you what's difficult nowadays is with the online presence. You know,
Social
there's
media.
a few social media. There's a few people online in the world who express their opinion vigorously.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean they speak for everybody else.
Right.
You know, there's always the silent majority out there who might think one way, and there's a couple of guys who are really always online, and they blog and they voice their opinion about things, and it's really easy to fall into that trap to think like everybody's thinking that way, but it's usually just the guys who are the most passionate about something that go to the trouble of blogging and posting and whatnot. So it's really hard to see sometimes to think like, is that just a few extreme guys, or is everybody thinking that way? So.
And now with the internet, we have people trolling here and there on various sites. So that's become like a trend now.
I know. But so at the end of the day, you got to do what you believe is best. And I always tell myself, if I like it and I'm 100% happy with it, then at least I have that. If it's a huge failure, a huge success, whatever it is, at least as long as I like it, I can hold my head high and stand behind it.
Absolutely.
The worst you can do is to try to write songs to please others, where you're maybe not yourself totally happy with it. I'd never do that.
Right, I agree with you. Now, 3 albums after the reunion. Now, I come across people who have that I know how they sound like kind of a look on their face whenever I talk about Accept. So you guys being a very creative heavy metal band, and most of the times you have proved everyone wrong. Now, heavy metal bands become very glitched, and their music tends to get very old. But you guys have proven everyone wrong. So have you come across any such situation where, your fans can easily figure out, okay, that's how Accept sounds like, I want something new? Has that any sort of happened in your career?
The heavy metal community is somewhat strange in the sense, anyhow, they're very traditional, but they're also very sensitive to certain things. If they've got the feel, I think a fan can always feel if you put your heart and soul into the music or not.
True.
And that's what it really comes down to. It doesn't matter, I believe, whether you sort of reinvent yourself every time and try to be somebody else with every record, or whether you're totally consistent. As long as something comes across where you think like these guys are having fun and they're really trying hard and something, is in this music.
Absolutely.
I think the fans are very sensitive to sort of generic run-of-the-mill crap stuff, where you can sense that like, oh yeah, they just did it in a weekend, so they didn't really care anymore because they just needed to have another album out, so they just go through the paces. And I think fans feel that more than anything else.
Absolutely. Now, you've been part of the metal world for decades and decades, and having been part of Accept from the beginning, how do you feel the entire metal world has changed, apart from the social media, which we already discussed? And how do you see the future for the same?
Yeah, man, that's the $1 million question. Nobody really knows that. And if anybody knows it, it's mostly journalists who observe the whole music scene more than I do. Right. I'm just sitting here on my inside bubble, surrounded by Accept. Everywhere I look is Accept. I don't really look too much outside, to be honest, because I don't have the time and the whatever to do all that. So I'm always the wrong guy to ask, but I can tell you it's changing every day, and nobody really knows where it's going from my perspective. But certainly there's still a huge demand for original heritage bands, if you want. The guys who started it all, the Motorheads and the Saxons and the Accepts of the world, they're still in huge demand, and I don't really see the next wave of these bands anywhere on the horizon, but who knows?
What's going to happen?
Yeah, what's going to happen? Nobody really knows.
Absolutely. Now, what about your hobby? I mean, photographic has been part of your life from the beginning. So, do you still pursue that hobby, and you tend to take some break from the tour and the writing cycle and spend some time on that?
Yeah, I mean, photography is really hasn't been a hobby in a long time. It's been my profession for over 10, 15 years, and I've made a career out of it when Accept wasn't busy.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Accept is so overly busy again, I'm finding it hard to find the time to do photo shoots. As a matter of fact, what's strange, just before you called 5 minutes ago, I had to turn down a photo shoot because somebody called me, can you do this shoot tomorrow, blah, blah, blah.
Whoa.
Said, no, I'm busy, sorry, can't do it. And that happens more and more, where I could easily be a photographer and be happy doing it, but I choose to do music, and so photography is fading into the background a little bit, but never really going away. It's never going to go away.
Absolutely. And looking at the current trend, the financial aspect also has gone down when it comes to music. So probably, photography is maybe another good source of, making a living out of it, because it seems to be impossible now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have two legs to stand on, creatively and financially. I mean, I've always considered it a huge luxury to have two jobs or two careers. So I wanted to keep it as going as long as I can, just because I know how to do it and I like doing it. So it'd be foolish to turn down photo shoots.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Now, what about the tour? You guys will be touring Europe, and luckily I'm heading to Germany in September, so I will be able to catch you guys for the first time.
You will?
Absolutely.
Where are you going to go?
I'm heading to Hamburg, Stuttgart. I have some work over there, so I am looking at your schedule, the dates which was sent to me by Marcus from Nuclear Blast. So I'm trying to figure out somehow, some way I have to do it.
Ah, great. Yeah, you have to while you're there. I mean, absolutely. I think you'll like it.
Of course, I will. And what about your rest of the 2014 plans and early 2015?
We will be touring heavily until Christmas this year, end of the year, and then pick it back up, I believe, in February or something. And hopefully I will have a little bit of time before it picks back up to actually finish my solo album. I've been working on a follow-up classical record there for years and years, and I'm in the last phase of doing just that. So
hopefully 2015 we can see a solo album from you?
Yeah. I've made a first one about over 10 years ago with classical stuff, and I wanted to have a follow-up. Been working on that forever and ever, and I never can seem to find the time to actually get it done. So hopefully as soon as I have at least a month or two off from touring, I will get there.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, let me end the interview by probably asking you a simple question to define Blind Rage in just one sentence.
Yeah, I think it's old school. Yeah, I think it's old school metal in a new sound, really, is what it is.
There we go. Thank you so much, Wolf.
Thank you, my friend. It was great talking with you. My first ever interview to India. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was fantastic. Very, very much fun to speak with you.